Hi everyone and welcome to another pick a card reading. Today we have a very special subject. This isn't a timeless reading because it takes a look at this post-Mercury retrograde period, which is still ongoing, of course. Mercury did stand still in the sky and go direct just a day ago, yet we are not out of the Mercury shadow season until July. So, even though things are starting to clear, informations are coming in, we are really inspired, so to speak, to process things. Our rationality is returning to what it should be. We are starting to see the big picture more clearly. And of course, at the same time, because this Mercury retrograde was part of eclipse, and it held different celestial conversations, one of, let's say, harmony with Saturn, and then a tension at one with Neptune. All of this energy suggests that there was ups and downs, going back and forth, rethinking, reanalyzing, and it also had a really strong psychological moment in the sense that maybe older traumas or things which used to unsettle us returned suddenly in our lives, and we also had to process that. People from the past resurfacing, and they just evoke memories, feelings. So it was really complex and definitely not an easy Mercury retrograde period. And right now we are trying our hardest to process, to find clarity, and to mimic the movement of Mercury, try to go forward in that area of our lives which was blocked, or life in general. So basically this pick a card reading asks the higher self to give a guidance or an advice or anything that can help us to integrate this clarity into our future plans and just to move forward with any area of our lives that suffered, let's say, inconveniences, unexpected events, or was blocked. The instructions of this pick a card are simple as always. Just take a look at the 3 piles of cards for a couple of seconds or as long as you need to, and then choose the one which sparks up your intuitive senses the most. The interpretations and the timestamps can be found in the comments and also in the description of the video below. Now, with this being said, let's take a look at what our higher selves advises us to focus on this post-Mercury retrograde period. How will it lead us to at least greater clarity or at least a spark of inspiration? Hello everyone who has chosen the first pile. Your cards are the Knight of Swords, the Moon, the Queen of Swords, and as a clarifier, the Five of Pentacles reversed. Now this is a very strong cerebral energy here. The Knight of Swords is not just communication, but it can also represent certain kind of communication which doesn't necessarily depend on us or not anymore, like papers, like official communication, like replies, responses, or letters, perhaps emails that we need to receive from, let's say, an authority, another person, a professional, a business, etc. And for you guys, it may have been that exactly those correspondences, informations, feedbacks, or legal matters, documents were blocked, or maybe they were not blocked because the communication wasn't there, because you guys might not have done the right steps to follow, or you weren't decided yet how to solve it, in which way you wanted to take things further. And of course, this Moon card also represents that during this Mercury retrograde season, and with the eclipses of course, you guys really had an inner restlessness where your soul, the Moon, of course, your emotional world, was really stirred up, really agitated, really active, not just in your conscious moments, but also in your dreams, where like an inner power, an inner voice was just almost having tantrums, if this is an acceptable term, like almost forcing you, asking you, begging you, constantly inspiring you to do everything in your power to resolve those situations, at least to find clarity, at least to find what you want, and to, not even sure how to word this, but not to leave anything either in the hands of another person and not even under the judgment of the universe. And I know that this is actually something which goes against spirituality, but there are times in life, there are moments in someone's fate, so to speak, when that is exactly the right thing to do. You know, the universe is an infinite power, and we are here in earthly shape and form, and of course we are here alive, existing in human society, which is only co-created by the universe. So, you know, the part which the universe co-created, of course it has a lot of influence and, you know, a word to say, a decision to make. But in the part which it didn't co-create, well, you know, free will, it cannot do absolutely anything. And this is exactly why the guidance for you guys is to have a very, very down-to-earth, rational, cold, logical, even the emotional sides of this has to basically reflect how emotions work in the human sphere and not really spiritual or divine sphere, because chances are that whatever this is for you guys, because for some people this can be job, this can be career, livelihood, which job is perfect for me, which job can allow me to live the lifestyle that is most comfortable for me. It can also be with projects, with business, but this is nothing that new. This is where it was already initiated, it was already on track, just that right now you have to decide how and where and in which way to take this further. So the evolution of either business project or which job do you want to start? Do you want to abandon and leave your old job and start the new one? Or maybe try out a new career, learn something new, take a course, etc. And of course, in which way is this gonna upgrade your life, bring something new and a source of happiness into your life? Because the final goal is not to repeat the same thing in a different form, but it's to genuinely get you out of a situation and feeling of being stuck and your life not being your own. And as I said earlier, because all of this takes place in the part of the world, of society, of human civilization, so to speak, which actually people created, humankind created. This is where your only valid tool is rationality, logical thinking. Sometimes, you know, the Queen of Swords, very harsh and critical judgment, grounded in truth, grounded in what's real and what's not. Yes, this is an energy which shatters dreams. This is also an energy which, you know, like tunes down idealism and prepares someone to make compromises, to make difficult decisions, or to see the truth in a way which is not really rose-tinted. Yet this is exactly what you guys need right now. So if you have been disconnected from, you know, your spiritual spheres, your hopes, optimism, optimistic approach to life, and you're much more grounded in rationality and logic, even if that is a little bit hard for you, because, you know, that Queen of Swords is criticism, but that criticism is real. It is based and grounded in cold logic and reality. So what your inner Queen of Swords, you know, the critical functions of your mind and mental sphere are showing you, telling you, for example, this will not work, this is not a good option, this is just the same thing that we have done in a different form, so it won't lead you anywhere. This person cannot be trusted, that authority is incompetent. So all of these rather negative things that this Queen of Swords is bringing to your awareness, well, they are rooted and grounded in reality, and like it or not, those truths, those feedback, so to speak, are real, and you need to take them into consideration, as painful as they be. And also this moon card, it has a lot to do also with your self-worth, but the problem is the big lesson and reflection of this Mercury retrograde period for you guys. It doesn't matter how talented, good, professional, learned you are, how much you sacrifice, how much value you can bring to anything. As I said, this can be about mortgage, loan, bank, finances, job, career. It is everything basically that has to do with your down-to-earth physical human life and also your social position. And it is also very clear that your biggest goal, your soul level goal, is to just find balance, just find peace, just find, what works for you, and you accept everything, and you can live a very happy life because you have everything within you to just be happy. You no longer dream of, excesses and fantasies and this and that. You are really, really balanced mentally, emotionally, spiritually. So all you need is the final solution for things just to get into a certain kind of equilibrium, balance, so that you have a very well established routine. You know what you can rely upon, you know what your future can look like, and of course you can manage your time, you can manage your resources, and you can dedicate your emotional energy to yourself, to your healing, to your well-being, to accomplishing all the small joys in life which you have been missing for quite some time now. And as resolution, we have this Five of Coins reversed. Now this also speaks about the past, because there was a time in your life, and not the very distant past, maybe 5 months ago, 5 years ago the most, where you really had a massive crisis in your life. It was either money, where you really, really had a breakdown, a really strong, negative, painful moment of deep inner crisis, which was also exterior as well. Like, this can be losses, this can be a really painful divorce, this can also represent illness, like really alarming illness, physical health problems, which almost got to a point where they just shut your life off totally. It can also be like poverty, it can be not having a place to live, it can be being out in the cold, either materially, socially, physically, all your friends abandoning you, or everyone that you thought was a valuable person in your life just backstabbing you. So it was a very, very painful moment, which you overcame, and you were really, really strong on rebuilding your life, and you achieved so very much, because this Five of Coins is reversed. You're over it, you're through it, you've done it, you accomplished it, but because it's reversed, the psychological, how should I even say, echoes. So it's not like it turned into a trauma, but the echoes, the fresh memories of exactly what you've been through and how much you suffered are still there. And this is what's causing your soul to be so restless, because you really want to end this chapter, not just physically, but you just really want to erase memories, you just want the peace, you just want to heal in your comfort, you want to give all the love you have inside of you to yourself. You just know that among so very many things, you're also your own parent. You're responsible for your happiness, for your own safety and comfort, and only now do you actually believe in this principle and feel it and live it with all your heart. So you really want to do this. But this Mercury retrograde period and the eclipses really stopped you in your tracks, because before that you were really doing a really good job. Things were coming together, the future looked very promising, there was a lot of hope in everything, and like you even had physical progress. If it's business, then business was going. If basically, maybe if you didn't have a house, then you almost found a house to live in, a place of your own. If it was banks and mortgage and money problems, you were very close to sorting it out, and it just stopped you in your tracks, and you really kind of had a moment of fright where you thought, am I going back into the old cycle? Am I actually reliving everything that went on in my life, back to the drawing board? Have I not really made any progress? And that really, really frightened you. But at the same time you reflected, you thought, and you analyzed everything. And this Queen of Swords, as harsh and cruel and cold she can be, it was her that helped you. The criticism and the logic of your mind, for some people, as negative as overthinking can be, this time that was your saving grace, because almost mercilessly she just cut off every illusion, every false hope, everything that really wouldn't have worked in your life. And even though you were left with only 2 options, maybe for some people no options at all, but at least you lived in the truth of what would never ever work in your life, and that was a blessing on its own. So you kind of processed it, you accepted it. The moon is not reversed, so that means that even though if your emotional world and the soul is restless, it is making progress. So it's not the irrational fear which just makes everything worse, but rather it is the inner tension which is like a battery fueling you. And believe it or not, without that inner tension, as uncomfortable it can be, you might be just a vegetable right now. Things are so very hard for you. But the advice of your higher self is that your rationality, your sound logic, your intellectual power, because you are someone of a very strong intellect, very strong mind, extremely intelligent, extremely knowledgeable, you are a highly skilled professional, and this side of yours always, and I mean always, helped you to anticipate the future. And most of the time your calculations, your mental scenarios played out with 100% precision, especially when you were in the position of a advice giver or professionally within a company, what you thought was going to happen. Of course, according to your intelligence and logic, 99% of the times that's how it happens. So you can trust yourself, and this time you can even trust your Queen of Swords when she's cutting stuff out, people out, when she's criticizing, when she's bringing certain things to your awareness, even if it hurts your idealism. This time you really have to listen, because she's making sure that you finally get out of that 5 of Cups moment. She's doing everything she can, as in your mental sphere, to finally be free of that. This might not mean that you will have the life that you dream, but it will mean that the empathic, the psychological echo of how hard it was for you, when that disappears, life is gonna look like something totally else. You will feel so much more freer. You will have this inner power to engage in so many more activities than you're doing right now. So that will be the way that you will rebuild your life. And that is how things are, even materially, or better said, mostly materially, gonna not just get better, but that is your ticket to the life that is meant for you. But until things fall together materially, well, you do need to sort out those communications, that work contract, or being able to choose the job, being able to choose the place, the house, whatever the crisis means for you personally, you will definitely figure it out. And all the paperwork, communication, help, legal matters, everything that you need and doesn't depend on you will come to you. But in order for the best solutions to come to you, that's why you need to listen to that Queen of Swords and allow her to be as harsh and as critical, especially with what is real and what is not, that she could possibly be, because she's helping you right now. She is making sure that that Five of Coins, not just that it stays reversed, but it's kind of erased. It's packed as a memory and nothing else. Well, thank you so much for listening, and I really, really hope that this was helpful and useful. Hello everyone who has chosen the second pile. Your cards are the Five of Cups reversed, the Two of Wands, the High Priest, and the Ten of Swords reversed. Now this is a really complicated combination, and I must say that you guys have all my admiration, because this Mercury retrograde period, it was in the dual sign of Gemini, and this duality really profoundly reflected in your life. The Five of Cups reversed and the Two of Wands are almost total contradictions to one another. The Five of Cups, well, it kind of means that you guys either started a project, a business, or something really, really important for you guys not so long ago. Maybe you started this at the beginning of the year, maybe in the middle of last year. But what is important is that you really believed in it, you were really passionate about it, you really invested something into it, time, effort, work, etc. Some of you might even have gone freelance or self-employed, or went solo and tried something with your talent, with your ambitions, with everything that you can accomplish. Some of you might have started an artistic career or a spiritual career maybe. And even though it did work extremely well and you had a lot of high moments, as soon as you started it, you might have had the beginner's luck, so you had a lot of good moments, you had a lot of satisfaction, you had a lot of really positive feedback, you had a lot of constructive criticism as well, which really helped you. But the thing is, as soon as the eclipse season, Mercury retrograde, and even before Mercury retrograde, I do believe Saturn and Pluto retrograde, so as soon as the first retrogrades of this year started, things took a very different turn. For maybe I can't even find the right words for this. It could have been that you had a moment, as in just a moment of instant burnout, or something really shut you off immediately, instantly, both emotionally, also passion-wise and spiritually. So it was almost like you had this thing going for you, and it was so well, and it was so promising. It was even so satisfactory. You were so close to genuinely feeling proud of yourselves, and then overnight it died. Now, that moment might have been very shocking, might have been a total, let's say, spiritual confusion where you just couldn't figure out for the life of you what was going on. What are you reacting to? What is happening? Did you invest too much passion in it, or what did you work yourself to exhaustion without even knowing it? Or maybe some of you might have even thought, are you this dual really? Are you this, how should I say, unreliable emotionally? Where your emotion just changes overnight with no logical and rational reason. And all of a sudden you found yourself in a very familiar, in the not so favorable sense of the word, a place where you just exited before you started this project, business, going solo, freelance, or a relationship. Because for some people, this can definitely be a relationship, a romantic relationship, trying out a journey with someone, someone who really, really was okay for you. It may have even been like a strong soulmate kind of connection. And you have, not just had, but still have so many things in common. Yet suddenly, with no warning, something about this person who you really admired and loved started irritating you, and those irritations became almost unacceptable to a point. But as I said, just adapt this to your own situation. May it be relationship, business, project, arts, career, hobby, something which has to do with passion anyway. And something which you have chosen as well, the two of wands. So you really, really try to figure out what's going on inside of you, what is going to happen next, because this was so unexpected and so sudden, and chances are this is still ongoing, so this is also what's happening in the present moment for you guys. In the present, as Mercury goes direct, if anything, it's even more complicated because a part of you is not disappointed. A part of you still feels the love, the passion, and everything. Yet another part of you is disappointed and wants something new. Or simply another part of you is telling you straight to your face, symbolically speaking of course, that look, this isn't working. I am not happy. The passion may be there, everything might be there, it does look good for the future, but if this is not me, if I'm not happy with it, well, it doesn't matter. So you might be really, really shocked and just confused of what the right choice is. Or better said, is there a choice? Are you finding yourself that you're stuck in the choice that you've already made and you're not happy with it, even if you have no reason not to be happy? Because if you're stuck in this situation, if you have to do what you have chosen, relationship, project, going solo, freelance, arts, hobby, whatever is the subject of your passion, if you already made the choice and you're in it and there's no way out, well, then you feel even more restless and extremely confused. And this is what your higher self is saying. Well, this is without a doubt a Ten of Swords moment. Defeat, surrender, the end, a closure of the cycle, but it's not what you think. This Ten of Swords is the karmic nuance of the energy, where an old pattern has to be, let's say, left behind, buried, demolished, forgotten, purged out, etc. And this Ten of Swords energy of defeat, the end, surrender it, and it has to do with the Emperor, because the Emperor is a part of you. It is basically your ethic, your work ethic, or your morality, or your sovereign will, but it is an energy which has so much to do with the head, not necessarily with the heart. And I'm not saying that you are not living a heart-based existence, if this makes sense, because otherwise you would not be in the relationship, project, hobby, whatever the passion is. Yet, tactically, and everything that you do with it, you kind of decide out of the head, and you might be blind to this. And even though there is absolutely nothing wrong with that, because you're not doing things in a bad or faulty way, yet, even without realizing this or knowing this, you're actually slave driving yourself. You abandoned something to start your passions, and that something was strict, it was rigid. Maybe you had a boss, maybe you had a routine, maybe you had to live, in the world of business, transactions, papers, and dates, terms, times, routine, You just couldn't be free, you just couldn't be yourself. You couldn't do things on your terms, when you wanted, how you wanted, etc. And you thought you left that behind, but this is the essence of this Mercury retrograde period. You didn't leave that behind because you're still living, acting, unconsciously following the same patterns. So basically, you left the routines set by others, but you set out new and extremely rigid routines for yourself. So of course, these new but old routines lead to the same place where you get exhausted, you get burned out, you get tired. You are not rewarding yourself for your efforts. You are sacrificing a lot for others. You are not really being self-centered at all, because this emperor, it doesn't really reflect your ego. It reflects your spirit of duty and responsibility. And that is no longer good for you, because you've done that for such a long time in the most exemplary ways possible, in your older jobs, in your family, with your parents, with everyone and everything in your life. So what lesson can the universe teach you? There is no lesson anymore. You've done that part, so you need to let it go. You need to let it die. You need to let it just fall apart. True freedom, being in control of your life, means to allow yourself, your instincts, freedom. It doesn't matter if you don't respect your routines. It doesn't matter if you don't slave drive yourself. It is all absolutely okay to indulge when you have the chance to indulge. It doesn't happen every day. It's perfectly okay to refuse business when you don't feel like it. It is perfectly okay to work with your heart standards, not any other standards. It is also okay to take time off. Very many things which weren't okay in the lifestyle or career or whatever that you left behind. All those things can be perfectly okay now, and it is only you who sets the standard and says, well, this isn't okay, neither in the old way of doing things, neither in the new one, and that is your biggest mistake. That is what the karmic forces are triggering. That is what is being, let's say, executed karmically. The pattern, the standards, the rigidity. If you want to be free, well then by all means be free. Do your job, do your passion, your work, your hobby, project, as if you would be a man or a woman who is absolutely free. So stop slave driving yourself. Hobby, passion doesn't have to be an obsession. And this is the biggest revelation of this Mercury retrograde period, because this is what is being reflected to you. Is your passion, relationship, hobby, job, project, freelance, work, career, whatever it is in your life that you have started, initiated, now you must ask yourself the question, is it going to support you and work for you in your life towards your greatest happiness if you eliminate the standards and the routines? And if the answer is no, you have to just confront with the fact that it's successful and it's going and it's working, not necessarily, and I'm so sorry to say this, because of you, but because of your standards. Who in the world doesn't love the highest quality? Who in the world doesn't respect the best of the best? But if the best of the best, and being punctual, being prompt, doing your stuff quickly, efficiently, etc., if that is a sacrifice that will slowly but surely destroy you, destroy your sovereignty, and it will just burn your passions to ashes, and the phoenix moment is not gonna follow forever, then you have to stop, you have to surrender. You have to look for a life, a relationship, whatever is the subject of your passions, which can play out in healthy ways, where it no longer slave drives you, it doesn't take you away from you, or in this case, it doesn't force you to do to yourself that which others did to you and you had to escape from it. May it be a job or relationship. You were slave driven, you didn't like it, and you escaped it, but now you're doing it to yourself, so you have to stop that. But of course, if you ask yourself the questions, if whatever you're doing can work the same way, even if you don't use your rigid standards and everything that I've spoken about, if the answer is yes, if it can survive and work the same way, well then, just embrace freedom and do your stuff as a free person. And if it's in a relationship, if this is about a romantic connection, well, if that person, even if it's the wisest, dreamiest, most romantic, attractive, beautiful, soul-level connection, soulmate, twin flame, whatever you want, even if that person is all of that, but they're sitting on their thrones, you guys are never gonna be equal, really. And maybe that irritates you. Maybe that is what all of a sudden cut off your passion and sent you into doubts and disappointments. Because love blinds you, yes, of course. But that doesn't mean that your instincts can be blinded at all. Your instincts are very much alive and precise and accurate. And if something triggers them, if that person's gesture, as masked, as concealed, as honey-coated, is still dominating you one way or another, manipulating you, not with bad intent, but they are the emperor, so of course their happiness and well-being, their truth, whatever it is, matters the most. You may not see it emotionally and mentally because you're blinded by love, but your instincts now, those are your true antennas, so to speak. And when they ring the alarm bell, well, you need to have a discussion. And if the Ten of Swords is the outcome, well, that is the outcome. Because remember, you need to be free right now and not live under your own or anyone else's dictatorship, even if that is not like violent, even if it's like totally acceptable, there's nothing wrong with it. Yet that is not what is meant for you right now. It's no longer part of your karmic journey, no longer part of your life, because you lived that for such a long time and you were more than resilient, endurant, you were exemplary, you've done all that, so you don't need it anymore. So fate is gonna separate you from that way of living, that existence, like it or not. So it separated you or helped you separate from external sources. But if you're still embodying that and being your own slave driver, then it will find a way to, slap you out of it. If it's a relationship, well, even if things are so very okay right now and it's just you having doubts and, unexplainable feelings, maybe moments of when you think that you're actually crazy or what's wrong with you. Well, your instincts are warning you that you're approaching the inevitable. When you do see clearly that someone is sitting on their throne and ruling you, it's too late. So that's why you're feeling it right now, to be able to have that light bulb moment of what's actually going on with you before it gets to the too late position. Because that emperor can very well just say, oh, okay, I love you so much that I don't want to sit on my throne. Let's sit together, I'll make room for you, or let me hand you the crown as a queen or king. I don't want my ego or my needs to ruin this relationship. And, that is already a saving grace. Dethroning that king is already a massive turning point for the relationship, because you can still be the best soulmates and friends without having to share a life, share a bed, etc. So your instincts are guiding you to save the situation, end it before it gets bitter, or have that conversation and allow the situation to transform into what it should be, free of control. So this is what the cards have to say for you. Thank you so much for listening, and I do hope that you at least found a tiny spark of inspiration in it. Hello everyone who has chosen the third pile. Your cards are the Hangman reverse, the 5 of coins, the 6 of cups, and as a clarifier we have the 10 of pentacles. Now it might be that for you guys, this energy is heavily karmic. But so much so that this is like a recurring pattern which only happens either every 12 or every 18 years of your life, when you reach an all-time low, when basically everything in your life is, how should I even explain this, shattered or totally, totally demolished, when you have no options, no choices, no one to help you, no outlook in life, as in you're just stuck. But of course, perhaps the most painful part of this situation is that it's not something that new. It didn't happen now. It happened over the course of the past 3 years, the Hangman, where it was both dark night of the soul, material losses, illness, depression, everything in your life has fallen apart, and that was processed because the Hangman is reversed, so you're not in it anymore. You processed it, you dealt with it. Yes, of course, it turned you into your most superior, intelligent, empathic, I don't even have the right words to describe how much it helped you as a soul, how much it helped you psychologically, how much everything that has happened to you, especially the negative, really, really uplifted you to a level which is, truth be told, higher than the human sphere. So this is where you became something that you could never ever possibly ever imagine in your life that you would become. It's almost like, how many kids don't dream that they become, superheroes and live in fairy tales or whatever when they're little. And you are actually one of those children whose dream became real, of course. Not to the letter, but this is where the strange thing is. A part of it, a part of what you learned to do, learned about yourself, learned to accomplish, may it be skill, talent, or some kind of a power that you possess, third eye, sight, clear whatever you want, clear vision, clear audience, clear smell, any kind of extrasensory perceptions, or the way you perceive time, where you can go back to the past, have glimpses of the future, or just understand almost perfectly the quantum nature of reality, universe, and even the physics of our consciousness. Whatever this, symbolically speaking, of course, superpower is, well, that part of the deal is by the letter, because you never ever thought that this would be possible, that this is real, and that you would be one to live it maximally and fully. And this part is absolutely wonderful. This part is like a dream come true. This is bigger than any fantasy because you're living it. You're immersed into it. You're connected to it. And that is absolutely fine. So that part is greatly appreciated. You're so happy and grateful. You think the world of yourself, in the sense that how wonderful that you were able to live this. And you have to be like a truly compassionate and like a really pure and full of love and good intent kind of soul to be able to exist in this state. So this is absolutely wonderful, but what is not wonderful is the Five of Coins, because the physical part of the crisis is not over yet. You were so close to thinking that it's over, and exactly when life started to taste sweet again, exactly when the doors opened and you saw freedom for the first time after those long 3 years, well, immediately the crisis returned with a vengeance. For some of you, it might be you lost money, you lost your job, you lost livelihood, you lost your best friend, you lost your soulmate. For others, physical illness, but with a vengeance. For others, stress, anxiety, tension, depression. Not just that it returned, but it started to show physical symptoms, as in severe back pains, rashes on the skin, or you just feel so tired and genuinely on a soul level, mentally and physically as well, that you feel like a zombie, like a living dead. You no longer feel alive at all. And to top this up, at this eclipse season, Sagittarius lunar eclipse, then the Gemini solar eclipse, then Jupiter dipping into Pisces and retrograding, and Mercury going direct, many traumas and pains and things which severely wounded you in your childhood and in your younger years returned into your life. For some of you, it was like a genuine return, that the same situation enacted again, while for others it was just memories and, these feelings resurfacing in your dreams and nostalgic moments, some of them absolutely wonderful, but some of them, really painful moments. But it doesn't matter how it played out, you're in it, and it's hard. And your soul is rebelling, the Hangman reversed. It says that I can just not process this anymore. It's not that you surrender, it's like you can't deal with this anymore. But this as well, this total sinking, this total drowning, as I said, is a recurring theme. A low like this, or a symbolic death, a symbolic total shattering of everything that you are, always happens either every 12 years or every 18 years. So you kind of know the feeling, and because you've been through this not just once, you also know the resolution, you know what's gonna happen next, and you know this because you lived it before. All of a sudden, exactly at your lowest moment, something unexpectedly pops up, which is nothing that you thought about, that you imagined. It's much better than what you ever could have asked for, and it offers you a long-term solution, and it offers you healing and freedom and just to regenerate and to find yourself once again. The problem here is that the negative part, the falling, the drowning part has taken place in your life. You're in it. You even found yourself. You know what you want, you know who you are, you know what you desire, you understand everything, basically everything that you could possibly need to understand. You understand, you processed it. But the miracle solution, that which has to enter your life, and when I say has to, it is how the cycle always plays out for you. So this cannot be otherwise. Well, it is not showing up right now. This deadly calm before the storm being the chaotic solution, which is much better than you could anticipate. So this deadly calm has been in your life for the past 6 weeks, and the breakthrough is not showing up yet. And what your higher self wants to tell you, well, on one hand, you know that the breakthrough is like 10 trillion% sure that it will happen. And this is where it's not just the mind or the soul or whatever. it's within your memory. You know the pattern because you lived it before. So there is really no doubt in the deepest parts of your mind, even your soul, that you're heading to that one way or another. And also, it's guaranteed, it cannot play out other way. And of course, you don't care what it is, you trust you just want it to happen already. You want to get out of that 5 of coins moment. You want to embrace living life again on your terms. And of course it's coming, but sadly, and I'm really sorry to say this, it is a little bit delayed. And the reason why it's delayed, well, first of all, it's big, it's complex, it's radical, and it kind of has to be handed down to you on a silver tray, not because you're special, but because you worked and suffered to the maximum tolerance of any human being. So basically you have to get what you deserve, as much as you suffered, as much as the pain consumed you. You know, the opposite of that measure has to be the solution. So if it's money, it's big money. If it's a career, it's a career where you're like an independent person who has money pumped into them, if this makes sense. So without you having to be involved in the nitty-gritty part of any business or company, you will just be an independent who's gonna be given a lot of resources and money and compensation for something perhaps quite symbolic. But why? The reason is very special. You're the only person, maybe from 10 million people, who can fit that role. And it's as simple as that. If it's relationship, well then it kind of has to be the perfect timing, because you can imagine that the person you're gonna be connected to is everything that you are, but even on a larger scale. So basically, that person will have to have an opening in their own lives, as in time, because that is what it's all about, in order for them not just to love you and all of that stuff, but also to teach you, to invest in you, to heal you, to elevate you, and nurture takes a lot of time. And of course, this is gonna be mutual. But your part is gonna just flow like a river. But your partner's part is more meticulous. Or if it's simply a home, a new place to live, a new lifestyle, a new everything, well, that has to be ready for you. And the other thing, which is very, very important, you suffered for this so very much that because of the suffering, a lot of people who are still, let's say, important members of your life will not be able to share this with you. So whatever this is yours and yours alone. And this is also what the universe is telling straight to your face. With the recurring patterns of the past, you know, maybe the traumas, the happenings, all the times society, people, etc. disappointed you, wounded you, hurt you, whatever that is. That's not a torture, that's not malevolence. It's the universe reminding you and telling you, look, this is yours and yours alone, and this is why. This is why you cannot share it. Who do you want to share it with? Someone who just can't understand you. Despite their good intent and best efforts, it is what it is. You are you, they are them. And this is something that you don't have to understand very consciously, very rationally. Quite the opposite, unconsciously. So this has to be like a pattern which is going to be created inside of you, that there are limits, there are boundaries, and you don't share your sanctity with other people. Let me just get back to the initial idea as a closing thought. At the beginning of the reading, I said, superheroes and what children dream to become, the most unusual and improbable things. Well, for you, that happened. And, superheroes have to wear a mask and stay hidden, even from their friends, family, etc. So there are things, informations, what you live, what you perceive, what you experience. Some of it cannot be shared with anyone except your own, let's say, kind. And even if this is a relationship, even if this massive 10 of Pentacles isn't the final completion, the final karmic reward, is going to be a relationship, well, that person is definitely not going to be interested by your friends, family, whatever. It will be just you and that person, and the other areas of both of your lives is going to be private, as in, conceal and hide. Because you will not want any negativity, any toxicity, any envy, anything to get in the way of you and a more experienced and stronger version of you. This is where this union is for life and no one is gonna get in the way. So this is what the cards have to say for you. I do hope that you enjoyed it and you found it a little bit inspirational. And by the looks of this 5 of Pentacles, I know that it's hard and hopeless right now, but please just endure as best as you can. So this concludes today's pick a card reading. Thank you everyone for listening. Thank you for all the likes, shares, and beautiful comments. And perhaps this is the last time I'm gonna say this. If you'd like to support my work, you can donate on the PayPal link in the description of the video below. I really, really don't like saying this. I don't like asking for anything. My dream was always for my work to be charitable and unconditional. I'm not one of those people who think that money is an energy and it's exchange. I'm totally against that principle. But there were times in my life when I thought, well, let's listen to others. Maybe they know better. And I did, so I included this sentence in most of my work. But truth be told, that isn't me. That really, really isn't me. So even if this is an act of mediatic suicide, well, this was really the last time when I said it. Spirituality and spiritual help, basically the message of the divine, of that which keeps all of us into existence, the very source of our light, of our consciousness, that is free, that is flowing, that is infinitely abundant in the world. So how could I possibly beg for money to deliver the message? So this is my way of listening to my own heart and to listening to my own instincts. So again, thank you so much for listening. I really hope that this Mercury retrograde period is gonna deliver a lot of clarity to each and every one of you. Wish you a blessed weekend. Until next time, bye for now.